Hello everyone. During this lesson, we will learn about constructors and classes, as well as delve into the topic of method overriding in the Python language. First, let's talk about constructors. Constructors allow us to execute specific code immediately after creating an object. Constructors are very convenient for setting initial values. Currently, when we create objects, we don't pass any data into them. Later, after creating the object, we access a method and set values through that method. However, all of this can be significantly shortened if we use constructors. So let's add a new constructor to our class. Here I'm writing something like creating a new function, but this function should have a specific name, like init. Note that the underscores here are mandatory. This indicates that we are creating a constructor. Now let's specify what we will be accepting. I want to accept 3 parameters here. These are the fields that we created in the previous lesson: name, age, and is happy. Also, let's copy the actions from the setData method into our constructor. Now if I run the program, you may notice that we get errors. They are related to the fact that when we create an object, we don't pass any values. At the same time, we have a constructor that expects to receive 3 parameters. Therefore, to get rid of the error, we should pass values inside the parentheses when creating the object. Consequently, we can comment out the 2 lines where we pass values through the setData function. So if I run this, we'll notice that everything is processed correctly. However, data setting now occurs at the moment of object creation. This has significantly simplified the code because now we don't need separate methods to set values, and we don't need to call these separate methods to set values anymore. In addition to setting values, you can also execute any other code within the constructor. Suppose I want to print some information on the screen. Of course, I can write a print function and write any information output, but why duplicate myself when I can refer to the getData method and execute this method? To do this, we write the keyword self to refer to this method, and in this case, everything will be processed correctly. And if we run this, we'll notice that when we create the object, we immediately set the data and then display it. Now let's talk about method overriding. Currently, we have 2 methods, setData and getData. Let's try to access setData and try to pass 2 parameters instead of 3. Here we'll have a name and an age. If I try to run this now, we'll get an error because this method expects 3 parameters, but we are only passing 2 parameters. To make the program work, we need to pass the 3rd parameter, and in this case, the program will run without errors. So, through method overriding, we can access the same method but pass a different number of parameters. To do this, we need to do one small thing. We need to specify a default value for our last parameter. Here, as the default value, I'll specify none. Thus, if I pass 3 parameters to this method, all 3 parameters will be written here. And if I pass only 2 parameters in this method, is happy will be set to the default value, which is none. Now, if I run this, I'll see that no errors occurred. I can do the same for other parameters as well. So, through method overriding, or in other words, by setting default values, we get a single method with a single name that accepts a different number of parameters. This is convenient because now we don't need to remember different names. We'll simply use one name and pass the required number of parameters. Well, the topic of constructors and method overriding is quite useful as it allows us to significantly reduce the code in our program. I hope you enjoyed the lesson, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next lessons. Thank you all for watching. See you soon. Goodbye.